instructions and data. Either by user is giving directly through the input device, like from keyboard, mouse kind of stuff, or the instructions load from your hard disk. Whatever the function you are doing, so those this will be converted into the instructions to the processor. Okay, the processor will do arithmetic and logical functions. Different manufacturers of processors are there. For our desktops and laptops, mainly Intel and AMD processors. Okay, so what are the specifications? We look at a processor. When you see your processor, go to the processor and check 32-bit and 64-bit differences, compatibilities. Okay, importance of heat sink fan, and a heat sink paste, like a thermal paste kind of stuff. Okay, what is the difference between RAM and ROM? Okay, those are primary memories, random access memory, read-only memory. So RAM stores data temporarily. ROM, it is a single chip. It contains the data permanently. Okay, RAM is a type of volatile memory, example for a volatile memory, and ROM is an example for a non-volatile memory. So what is a volatile memory? When system is disconnected, means power is off, data loss in the device. Non-volatile memory devices, even you shut down your system or disconnected from the system, so without a power supply, still data can be available. Okay. Again, RAM has different sizes are available, and in a RAM also it is we can able to add a RAM, remove a RAM, replace a RAM. But ROM is a permanent chip. We cannot able to change ROM, and we don't see the ROM as a specific storage device, like a like size wise, speed wise. We don't check it because it is already built on the motherboard. RAM is also called as main memory, physical memory kind of stuff. Okay. RAM is a example for a volatile memory. In RAM, we have a static RAM and dynamic RAM. In a static RAM, we have cache memories. So we use as a cache memory, which is built inside our CPU, which fosters CPU performance. RAM, in another DRAM kind of stuff, we have different DRAMs. So SDRAM, DDR. So currently we have a DDR5 version in the market. So most of the systems with a DDR4, but DDR5 is also in the market. Almost like from 1 year, it is there in the market. From last 1 year. Okay. RAM is also, we look at the RAM as like a RAM size wise, like 8 GB RAM, 16 GB RAM. Speed of the RAM is also there. Model of the RAM, voltage levels also there. When you want to replace the RAM or upgradation of the RAM, so compulsory check the compatibility with CPU and your motherboard. What type of motherboard it is. Okay. Sizes, size support, speed support, memory type of support is required, and the number of slots support is required by your system. Based on that only we can able to change. Okay. And also we discuss about a post error power on self test. So when you power on your system test itself to make sure that all the primary devices working at like a CPU, RAM, and motherboard components. Okay. If it is successful, then it is go for a next step of boot processing. If it is fail, so it is nothing on your monitor, continuous beep sound, no keyboard LED kind of stuff it is there. So there is a possibility that is RAM is loose connectivity, RAM failure, dust on the RAM, on the RAM slots also. Disconnect the power supply, remove the RAM, try to reinsert the RAM, clean the RAM with a eraser, RAM edges, not completely RAM, okay. RAM edges with the eraser. Dust on the RAM and RAM slots, clean it, fix it, verify it. Cross verify your RAM with another RAM if in case it is not fixed like that. Okay. So it is a RAM problem or any other problem, we can able to understand. Guys, this is a RAM and this is IO controller. This is CPU, cache memory, north bridge, south bridge. These are IO devices. Can you able to see this picture? which is highlighted, this one.
Yes, sir.
So whenever this input devices like a keyboard, mouse, your monitor, like output devices, storage devices, all these things will handled by this IO controller only. Because your RAM or CPU does not know where is your device, okay? Where is your keyboard? Where is your mouse, or maybe where is your monitor? So there are connected to your system, but that will be handled by IO controller. This IO controller will transfer your data from input output devices and storage devices also. Okay. So what is this? The data will be loaded into IO controller. So IO controller give it to your RAM. The RAM will load the instruction to cache memory to CPU. CPU what it will? It will process, it do arithmetic and logical operations on your instructions and data and load into cache to RAM. And RAM that is given to IO controller, and that information will go to your show on your monitor or stores on your storage devices. Okay. So what is this north bridge and south bridge? North bridge is a type of chip. It handles the communication between CPU and RAM. It handles the communication between CPU and RAM. South bridge is handle the communication between your RAM, IO controllers, and IO devices, means peripherals. Okay. In a cache memory also, we have a levels, level 1, level 2, level 3 cache memories are there. Guys, understand what is a north bridge, what is south bridge, how data is happens, process happens in our system. Or do you want to repeat again?
Sir, please repeat again.
Yeah. Okay, I will repeat. So, for example, I move my mouse, or maybe I open some application, or maybe I type some instructions from my keyboard. Okay, what happened? Those instructions, okay, the details of from where instructions are coming, everything will be handled by IO controller. IO controller take that instructions and data, give it to the RAM. RAM will load those instructions and give it to your processor. But before processor, inside of your processor only, there is a cache. Cache runs as fast as your CPU thing. So there is a no communication lag. So cache load instructions and data and give it to your processor. Processor process instructions. Okay. Your data and instructions will do arithmetic and logical processing. It is done by your CPU. Once CPU is done, the outcome has to be done. Right? So that output is go to the cache to the RAM to IO controller. So once you are done, you open some application is open. So you can able to see on the monitor, right? Sometimes maybe you want to save a file, like it will going to be saving your storage devices. Okay, maybe in hard disk, or maybe in a pen drive, or maybe in SSD. You will go to storage. So that is also handled by your IO control. Okay. So north and south. North bridge is a one chip, south bridge is another chip. Okay. What is this north bridge will do? It is on the motherboard. So what it will do? It is the flow of communication between your CPU and RAM. It will be controlled by north bridge. The how they should be communicate, what instructions should be loaded. So that will be arranged by your north bridge. It helps your RAM to CPU communication. The south bridge is other side. It means from RAM and IO devices. The communication between your RAM and your IO devices, that south bridge will be take care of that. Okay. So I can show you that one, how where is this north bridge and south bridge on the motherboard. See, this is CPU, this is RAM slots, this is north bridge, and here it is south bridge. Okay, this is another chip, this is another chip. This sits near to this RAM and CPU. Okay, that is an artificial circuit. So today we are going to see about a ROM. Okay. What is a ROM? Read-only memory. It is one of the primary memory. It helps your system to start, boot your system. The instructions to boot your system is in the ROM chip one. How it is, we'll see that. Again, in a ROM chip, we have different types of ROM chips are there. ROM, read-only memory, PROM, programmable read-only memory. So when you go to the ROM manufacturer and these instructions should be in your ROM, then what this ROM manufacturer will do, they manufacture chip with that instructions built inside. You want to put instructions yourself. So what you have to do, go to the ROM manufacturer and buy one empty ROM and you have to program it. That's it. Okay. You have to program it. So once you program it, you cannot erase it. That is called a programmable read-only. EPROM means EEPROM. EEPROM means erasable programmable, means you can program it and you can erase it, but you cannot reprogram it. Next type is EPROM, means electrically erasable programmable read-only memory. Means this is our actual ROM chips we are using as a BIOS chip. Okay. So what it is we can reprogram it if it is required. If any instructions should be updated, okay, or maybe some changes, versions or changes happen, so we can able to reprogram this chip. Okay, so EPROM chips are rewritable. ROM chips are once they are written, so we cannot able to change it. Programmable read-only memories also, once it is programmed, we cannot able to erase it or change it. But EPROM chips are rewritable, so we can program it, erase it, again we can reprogram it. Okay, these are ROM chips are fixed. These ROM chips, EPROM chips, having a program called BIOS. What is this BIOS? Basic input output system. What is BIOS? Basic input output system. It is nothing but a firmware. We can call it as firmware or firmware. Both words are correct only. Firmware, firmware, like that. Okay. It is a firmware. It's a simple word. The firmware name is BIOS. What is the use of this BIOS? Okay, it perform post operation. Already I told what is the post? Power on self test. When you power on your system test itself to make sure that all the primary components working on that. And this BIOS program also helps your system to recognize hardware devices. Okay, if you see guys, I will go into motherboard again. If you see on the motherboard, there are all lot of slots are there. Already onboard chipsets are there. That is known by your ROM chip. But when I insert a new CPU, so and power on, so your BIOS will recognize what type of CPU it is inserted, what RAM is inserted, where it is inserted, what hard disk is connected, what graphic card is inserted, what LAN card is inserted. So it will try to recognize the devices when it is connected to your motherboard. Okay, that the connected to your motherboard, and when you power on the system, automatically your BIOS will recognize the hardware devices. And also it helps to locate and load operating system. And it helps operating system to access hardware devices. Where is the hardware device? Where it is the location? How to communicate? That is also help from the BIOS. So what is a BIOS? Basic input output system. It is nothing but a firmware. So your BIOS helps to boot your system, okay, to launch post operations, power on, self-test operation. Post is not a program, guys. Post is a acronym, means the the thing which is happens at a booting time at the start of your system is post. The process we call it as a post, power on, self-test, system test itself. It recognizes the hardware devices, what is the CPU inserted, what RAM is inserted, what hard disk is inserted. Like that, it will recognize the devices. It locate and load operating system. It will help the system to locate your operating system and loading the operating system also. It helps operating system to access the hardware devices. This BIOS is a firmware, is a newer version of BIOS is called a UEFI, Unified Extensible Firmware Interface. What is a UEFI? It is an updated version of BIOS. Currently, most of our desktops, laptops comes with this UEFI on the motherboard. Okay, instead of BIOS chip, we are using UEFI now. UEFI gives certain additional things as compared to the BIOS. For example, secure boot is from UEFI. Secure boot from EFI, GPT from UEFI. Okay, from UEFI, you are getting secure boot. Okay, feature is there. UEFI, mainly two features I am writing here. One is secure boot. Next, GPT partition style.
Sir, can you explain this again? UEFI.
UEFI is a one type of history. It is, BIOS, you understand BIOS, what is the part of
Yes, sir.
BIOS,
Yes.
right? So it is also a kind of BIOS only, but that is having certain features, but UEFI is a newer version of BIOS. This new version. The earlier it is a BIOS, it's like a legacy setup type, and UEFI is the newer version. It has certain features additionally to your BIOS, like a mouse access is also there with the UEFI. Secure boot options also there, and GPT partition style TPM modules also supporting is also there. Okay. The newer version of BIOS, simple. And these BIOS chips, so whether it is UEFI or BIOS, guys, we generally call them as a BIOS only because it's become habituated to tell people like that. Okay. Okay. These either UEFI or BIOS chips are manufactured by different companies are there. AMIBIOS, American Megatrend Inc. is a company name. Okay. So AMIBIOS, Edward BIOS, Phoenix BIOS, Dell BIOS, HP BIOS. So the BIOS chip manufacturers also different. Depends upon the BIOS chip manufacturers, the interface also different. The BIOS setting interface is also different. And I have written something like this, what is a firmware and the stuff. So here, what is a firmware? The software that provide basic machine instructions that allow the hardware to function and communicate with other software running on the device. Okay. So firmware provide low level control of device hardware. Okay. It's a machine level instructions are built inside this firmware. When you start, the firmware will help your system, either it is a mobile or a laptop or a desktop. Okay. The firmware will help the device to how to start, how to load the functionality to define function, how to communicate with other software, other devices, other components in the device, it helps that one. Okay, so that is a firmware. So your BIOS is a firmware and UEFI is another firmware. Okay, and currently we are using most of the desktops and laptops coming with the UEFI type only. Okay, and I said what is a BIOS? What is the use of BIOS? But another point is also there. The BIOS contains hardware information. As I said, on the motherboard, what are the built-in components on the motherboard? That information is already there in the BIOS. Okay, so about your CPU slots, RAM slots, AGP slots, hard disk connectivity kind of stuff, or your peripheral connectivity related, audio chips, video chip, north bridge, south bridge, certain features related to your things also available inside your BIOS. And when you press the power button, automatically the BIOS is try to recognize your hardware devices. What is the CPU inserted in on motherboard? What RAM is inserted? What hard disk is inserted? Like that. Okay. BIOS contains hardware information. So we can check or change some hardware settings through BIOS settings. What is a BIOS contains? It contains so many information related to your hardware, only, about your processor, about your RAM, about your hard disk, your processor features, settings, your boot boot priorities. Okay, boot priorities. All this information is available inside your BIOS. But how to go to BIOS? How to go to this BIOS settings? Okay, there is a simple thing is when you power on your system, press the BIOS key. Okay, press the BIOS key. Generally, when you power on your system, on the system itself, and the either top corners or bottom is somewhere in the system, it will shows what is your BIOS key. In generally, delete button. In generally, delete button. Because the Dell company actually manufactured these desktop systems earlier. So they use Dell. So other companies also follows. Later with a Dell means delete button as a BIOS key. And later on days, other manufacturers, other BIOS manufacturers started like this with the F2 as a BIOS key. Okay, F2 as a your BIOS key or a F10, F12, F11, F9. Like these are different function keys to go to the BIOS settings. In a laptop, we have a function keys also there. So near to your Windows logo button, there is Fn button is there. So Fn plus function key, you have to press it. You have Fn plus that F2 like that you have to press it. Okay. So to check your hardware information, to change hardware configurations, to check or change date and time, to set a password to your BIOS, okay, to change boot priorities, we have to go to the BIOS settings. Why should we go to the BIOS settings? Generally, we don't go to the BIOS settings, right? It is not required at all. But to want to see your hardware information means what is CPU, RAM, hard disk you are inserted, or you want to change certain configuration related to CPU or hardware related settings, you want to do it, or you want to change your date and time, or you want to set a password to your BIOS so then any others cannot change your BIOS settings. You know, in your colleges, in our colleges, when you insert a pen drive to your system, it won't recognize. So what happened? There's other possibilities also there. One of the possibility is we can disable USB ports with the BIOS settings. Only particular 1 or 2 ports are open for your keyboard and mouse. Remaining ports will shut down. Okay, it won't recognize. Mainly front panel means front panel we can able to disconnect from the motherboard. But back panel, it is on the motherboard. We can able to disable those ports if you want it. Okay, using BIOS settings also possibility is there. Not every system, but fewer system will support like that. Not every system to disable BIOS ports. Okay. Next, guys, understand why should we go to the BIOS setting and how to go to BIOS setting. Hmm? Why should we go to BIOS settings? To check system configuration. So can you see what is the CPU? No one is talking. So can you see CPU? What CPU model it is?
Sir, 5537.
i7.
I7, oh yeah, I7 generation.
Sir, it's i7 4500U.
Yes, it's i7 4th generation. Very good. And what is the cache memory? 4 MB cache memory. Okay. Hard disk, SSD, hard disk, fixed hard disk, sorry. Fixed hard disk,
1 TB.
WD, 1 TB, 1000 GB means 1 TB. And there is a CD-ROM. And total memory means RAM, 8 GB RAM. Okay. And what type of product name? Inspiron 5537. And there is a date and there is a time. Okay. So we can able to see that one. If you want to change date and time, you can change it from here also. So our BIOS, this BIOS recognize the system, hardware, and show it on the screen. Okay. So he is using i7 processor. Just one example. Okay. So, and I already tell we can able to change date and time, and we can check date and time, and we can change the date and time. So we can set the password. What is this password? It is a BIOS password. It is not your operating system password. Operating system password is actually you log in with your username, password is that one. That is your operating system. You start your system, after some time it will shows your username and you have to type the password. That is operating system password. What is the BIOS password? In a BIOS, we have a lot of settings are there like this. Okay, see the settings are there. So people will change these settings. For example, you disable certain feature, hardware related feature like a USB ports are down, or maybe you enable certain feature. Okay, so what happens? So someone is trying to change it. So to protect from someone to see or change the settings, we can set our BIOS password. This password is different from your operating system password. Second, we can change hardware related things. See, I already told virtualization technology, right? It is here enabled. We can enable it or disable it. If it is enabled, so in that PC, we can able to create virtual machines. Like we can using a Hyper-V or a Oracle VM VirtualBox or a Oracle VM VMware workstation like that. We can create a 64-bit virtual machines. See CPU mismatch detection, core multi-processing, processor power management. Some are enabled, some are disabled. Depends upon your requirement. You can able to change. Okay, not only this, there are so many other kind of stuff also. This is a boot priorities. What is the boot priority? So as per this, CPU, CD-ROM, removable device, hard disk, and network. It means when you power on your system, system is trying to load operating system. First, it will try to load, of course, after post. Once post is completed, next one is as per BIOS boot priorities. Okay, as given priority CD-ROM, not ROM, RAM, ROM. Removable device, hard disk, network. So system first try, is it any CD or a DVD having the operating system? So if I inserted any CD DVD with an operating system DVD, if I inserted, it load operating system from here. If it is not there, then it will check removable device. If in case I connected a pen drive with an operating system contained pen drive, bootable pen drive, if I inserted a bootable pen drive, so it will load operating system from that drive. If it is not there, then it will go for a hard disk. So try to load a operating system from hard disk. If hard disk is having an operating system, then load it. Okay, then it won't search next. In case your hard disk does not have an operating system, it try to load operating system from network. If it is there, it load from the network, means through WDS services, through network deployment services, any voice is there, it load it from the network. If it is not there, then throw an error on the screen, unable to find bootable device, unable to find bootable device. This is called a boot priority. What is a boot priority? So as per the list, your BIOS tell to your system to check operating system from these devices in the priority wise, one by one. For example, I have an operating system in my hard disk. I have operating system in my hard disk. And this is my boot priority. I change my boot priority. We can change it. Okay, we can change it. So here it is given using plus or minus, we can able to change boot priorities. Okay, so up and down. So system, when it is post is completed, system try to find is a hard disk is having operating system. Yes, load it. It won't check remaining things. It won't check remaining things. Okay. For example, it is I have an operating system in hard disk, but my boot priority is showing like this. I start my PC, post is completed. It try to try to load a OS from the CD-RAM. Nothing, no CD-RAM, nothing is there. And next it will try to find from hard disk. In hard disk, I have operating system. It load OS from the hard disk. It won't check from the remaining. Even I have connected a removable device, means a pen drive with the operating system also. It won't check it. Second one, it will, because it is already loaded from hard disk. This is called a boot priority. So it is a list. Based on the list, so system try to load OS from the devices. Okay, guys, understand what is boot priority?
So,
Yeah, that's it. So this is called a BIOS setting. So finally, what are the changes you have made it? So those changes has to be saved. Okay. So what we can able to go to do in a BIOS settings, how to go to BIOS settings? So power on your system, press the BIOS key. Depends upon your laptop or desktop, manufacturer or a motherboard or the other things. Okay, so we have to find out what is your BIOS key. In generally, del button. Del means delete button. In generally, it is a delete button. In general, it is delete button. On your system, you can able to see that's a delete button. This is we cannot do anything. So we can go to BIOS settings. So what we can able to do in a BIOS settings, we can check our system configuration. We can check date and time, and we can change date and time. We can set a password to our BIOS, which is different from our operating system. The password is for your hardware password, only for your BIOS settings purpose. You can change hardware features. You can enable or disable certain hardware features. Example, virtualization technology kind of stuff. We can change our boot priorities. Okay, those things. Guys, understand what is a boot? Of course, what is BIOS settings, boot priorities, kind of stuff.
Yes, sir.
Good. So this is our BIOS chip. BIOS chip means it is a ROM chip. Guys, in our computer means your processor, RAM, BIOS, all these things built based on a technology called as CMOS technology. MOS means MOSFET. Okay, MOSFET. Just for our understanding only. MOSFET. FET means field effective transistor. Metal oxide semiconductor field effective transistor. Metal oxide semiconductor field effective transistor. In a MOSFET, we have PMOS and MOS is there. P channel MOS and channel MOS. People are from CSCIT or maybe what we people say, electronics and communication engineering, electronics and telecommunication engineering may have this subject. Okay, others don't worry. VLSI designing people. Okay, they combined this CMOS and PMOS and created a CMOS. CMOS means two type of MOSFETs combined. Because of NMOS is faster, PMOS is low heat dissipation. So CMOS is ultra modern, means the simple way of logical gates we can able to achieve. Your CPU, your processor, your RAM, your ROM, everything is built based on the transistors only. Which transistors? CMOS transistor, complementary metal oxide semiconductor transistor. So CMOS is a technology is used to manufacture chips. Understand that point? Okay. So keep this side one point. Okay. So important point is, guys, in the BIOS is recognize the hardware information. Next, there is a date and time. Date and time is manually will set it. We are using a password to protect your unauthorized person to change your BIOS settings. And the settings, you can able to change some settings, and boot priority also we can able to change. That is also a setting. Boot priority is also one of the settings. Hardware related settings, boot priority settings, we can able to change it. Okay. But BIOS is a permanent memory. What is the permanent memory? Which is already designed inside a BIOS chip, that is permanent memory. That is we cannot able to remove it. But these are the temporary data only. Your date and time is a temporary because it is running. Once you fix it, it will run. Okay. BIOS passwords, settings, boot priorities, these are all you changed it. Okay. You changed it. Okay. Or maybe a technician changed it. So whenever you shut down your PC, power is off. Data, the temporary data will be gone, right? As your RAM is completely temporary data that automatically remove from your RAM chip. But in a BIOS, there is some temporary data. What is it? Your date and time, the recent date and time, what are the change, the date and time, the password settings, okay, boot priorities are changed one, the changed one, that is temporary. When you power off your system, this data will be gone automatically. It means next time you boot it, again you have to configure date and time. Again you have to configure settings and boot priorities. Okay. So it is gone means factory default. If anybody remember the old keyboard mobile phones are there. Feature phones. We calling now them as a feature phones, not smartphones, feature phones. When you remove the battery backside or remove and change the SIM, what happened? Entire settings will be gone. You remove the battery and reinsert the battery. Now current time is 11:14 a.m. 10th May 2024. But if you remove the battery and reinsert the battery, it goes to 1999. Okay, so it's why it is happening like that. Factory default settings. Your BIOS having a default settings. But what are the settings? Factory default settings are there. What are the settings? You have changed date and time settings, or maybe passwords, or maybe hardware related settings, or BIOS priority related settings. You change the setting, that is become temporary. When you shut down your PC, automatically these settings will be gone to the factory default settings. Okay, what is the solution? The solution is a continuous battery power supply to your BIOS chip. There is a battery with mostly we use this lithium 3 volts battery. Okay, on your motherboard, you can see there is a battery. This is a battery is 3 volts lithium battery. will give continuous power supply to your BIOS chip. Even though you shut down your PC, you have disconnected the power supply, still this battery will give power supply to your BIOS chip. So then whatever the settings you have changed, whatever the date and time passwords are in the BIOS will be like that only. And the continuous clock will be ticked. It means when even I shut down my PC, the clock, the date and time will be run continuously inside your BIOS chip. Okay. So what is this? This is a battery.
Sir, this battery is chargeable?
No, it is not chargeable. Okay, but
sir,
it runs more than 3 years.
And if it discharge and loses power, so what happens?
Yeah, that one also there. Yes, battery means it will be discharged even. It may be 1 day or maybe 10 days or maybe 10 years. Okay. Earlier days, this battery life is up to 10 years because of that hardware is a very light hardware. That's not much power consumption kind of stuff. Now it is comes at least 3 to 5 years guarantee the battery is run. More than 5 years, you have to be careful when you feel something is happened. So then you can able to change the battery. We can change the battery. Okay. So battery means there is a charge. The charge will be decayed slowly after days are going on. Once it is battery is in a low power or no power in the battery, we can change the battery. We can remove the battery, reinsert the battery. But problem is when you remove the battery, automatically these things will be gone. Again, you have to do all the settings back. So before you are doing, so better to know what is the settings are there. Okay. It's not a big deal, but it's good thing. Guys, understand CMOS battery. So this we also called as CMOS battery. So why I told about CMOS first, and I'm telling this is CMOS battery. Lot of people still there is a lot of people think the battery is built based on the CMOS technology. No, CMOS is a transistor. Battery is lithium battery, and it is 3 volts lithium battery. It is okay. CMOS is a technology used to build chips, but later on days the battery power supply is support a CMOS chip level. Okay, the CMOS chip, the voltage requirement for a CMOS chip that is satisfied with this battery means that ampere rating, voltage rating is properly given from this battery. That's why this is called a CMOS battery. Okay, what is a CMOS battery? CMOS battery is a lithium battery which give power supply to our BIOS chip. What is CMOS battery? It is a battery, means it is a lithium battery, 3 volts lithium battery. What is CMOS battery? It is a 3 volts lithium battery which gives a continuous power supply to our BIOS chip. Okay. Battery which powers BIOS memory is called a CMOS battery. It is a 3 volts lithium battery. If you remove battery, BIOS setting goes to factory default, as you said. So the data, your battery is low power or no power, or remove the battery and reinsert the battery, BIOS settings go to factory default. Your BIOS stores a certain temporary data like a date and time. Okay, BIOS password, settings, configuration stores. If you turn off your data, if you turn off your system, data will be lost. To keep the data in the BIOS chip, we use CMOS battery. Okay, so the sentences may be like this off of part, but you can correct it yourself. Okay, so there is a one good question, that is in case. Okay, there is one line, up line is required. This is CMOS battery. Nothing we cannot able to do. Really cannot able to. Okay. Ignore this part. Okay. Don't ignore it. Not required ignoring it. Okay. Just I given some information. Okay. Important point is what is a CMOS battery, guys? It is a lithium 3 volts battery. It's 3 volts lithium battery. What is CMOS battery? It is 3 volts lithium battery. Okay. Which is powers or BIOS chip. Which powers or BIOS chip. Okay. So even if you shut down your system, you power off your system, the CMOS battery will give continuous power supply to your BIOS chip to keep the data alive and to keep date and time running. Okay. So here it is error. What is error? CMOS checksum error. You power on your system, on the screen, it's showing CMOS checksum error, CMOS checksum bad, CMOS date and time not set, F1 to run setup. So what you will do? What is why we are getting this kind of error? So someone removed and reinserted battery. You remove the battery and reinsert the battery. So what happened? CMOS. What is the BIOS? Okay. BIOS go to factory default. BIOS settings go to factory default. Date and time go into the factory default date and time. So that's why you are getting this kind of error. So what to do? Go to F1 to run this setup on like that. It's go to the BIOS key. Okay. Go to the BIOS, change the settings and save the settings. Start running. So what is the first step? When you see a first time this CMOS checksum error. Okay. So what you do? So go to the BIOS settings, change the settings, change the settings as current settings like a date and time and other hardware settings, change it and save it and run. You are running. Good. From next day onwards, it is not, you are not getting, and any time you start your PC, you are not getting this error. It means all are okay. In case you got the error, you got a CMOS checksum error or CMOS checksum bad kind of error on the screen. So you change the settings, you've done your work today, you shut down your PC. Next day, you open a system, again CMOS checksum error. Okay, it is repeating. Meaning is your CMOS battery is low power or no power. So what to do? Remove the CMOS battery and reinsert the battery, or better to change the battery. Every time system starts, if you got this error, means battery low power, no power, so then change the battery. This is important. Every time you are getting this kind of error, CMOS checksum error, so means battery low power or no power, so then change the battery. Then change the battery. Okay. So totally 3 troubleshooting things I have told since starting. One is CPU side. If CPU is getting overheated, CPU getting overheated, system restart itself. System restart itself means CPU is getting overheated. You have to check CPU on CPU heatsink paste or a thermal paste, heatsink fan sitting properly or not. Second, if test is there, clean the test, arrange it again properly. Okay. So what is the second one? You power on your system, nothing on your screen. No keyboard LED blinking, no hard disk LED blinking. Maybe you hear continuous beep sound. Possible post failure. Possibility is your RAM loose connection, RAM is disconnected, or maybe RAM is failed, or maybe test So open the cabinet, remove the power supplies, remove the RAM, clean the RAM edges with eraser, with help of eraser, it is always better solution. So insert the RAM, or you can use isopropyl alcohol or rubbing alcohol also to clean the RAM edges, not entire RAM edges only. Okay, insert the RAM into your RAM slots. Okay, try again. If not working, so check the RAM with another system or check with a different RAM with this system. Is a RAM fault or system fault, you can find it. Another one is CMOS checksum error. Okay, once you got this CMOS checksum error means, once you are getting means, it may be a battery is removed and reinserted. If you are getting again and again, means your battery has low power or no power. So change the battery, change the settings, then issue will be resolved. Okay. Yeah. Guys, understand?
Yes, sir.
There is another two more is there. One is what we can say is a motherboard and SMPS. Then we can go to this hard disk kind of stuff. So actually I want to give a break, but these two are a small things. So I will go for a motherboard and SMPS. And on SMPS also, you can one point is there in on hard disk. Okay. Otherwise, yeah, we'll complete it and take a break. Then we'll go to the storage devices. Then we'll go to storage, different types of storages, SSD, hard disk type of storages. Then we'll go to the boot process. What is a motherboard? It is a main circuit board. Okay, it is a kind of PCB type. Okay, it's a board where we can able to insert our CPU into the CPU sockets. RAM slots are there, hard disk connectivity is there, expansion slots, graphic cards, okay, hard disk, internal, all internal components we can able to connect to our motherboard. Even the external components like your keyboard, your mouse, your printer, your LAN connector, everything we have to connect it to your motherboard. Why it is called a motherboard? Because all computer components will connect either directly or indirectly to the motherboard only. Okay. So you connect your RAM, you are connecting to your motherboard. Even motherboard having different form factors like a AT motherboard, ATX motherboard, mini ATX, baby ATX, NLX, PLX kind of stuff. Okay. PLX, not PLX. Okay. So there is a simple point of motherboard is it connects your devices either directly onto the motherboard or indirectly onto the motherboard, either internal to your system or to the external to your system. Everything will be connected to your motherboard only. Through the motherboard only, we are connecting. And we have different things on your motherboard, processor slots or sockets, memory slots for RAM, expansion slots for adding additional LAN ports, audio cards, USB ports, kind of stuff, graphical cards. Okay. So different chipsets on your motherboard, IO SATA connectors, PATA connectors for hard disk and CD-RAM connectors, floppy disk drive connectors. Maybe now it is not available. CMOS battery connectors. Okay. Power supply connector, heat sinks, front panel connectors, front panel USB connector, front panel power connectors, all are connected to your motherboard. Okay. What is this number? CR2032. CD or CR, some places CD, some places CR. 2032 is a common number for your BIOS battery. Okay, remember 2032. Okay, so this is a motherboard. So your motherboard, this is RAM slots. Inserting a RAM slot, there is a CPU slot. Okay, AGP, that green color is AGP, means that is graphic card is there. Back panel connection, PS by 2. What is PS by 2? These are for connecting mouse, connecting keyboard. And these two are removed for a certain period of time. And recently, the new desktops are coming with a single PS by 2 port. Either you can connect keyboard or you can connect mouse. So that will reduce the number of usage of USB ports. So many USB ports are not required. Okay, at least one USB port become free. Okay, this is the big one, is called a parallel port. Okay, so earlier days we have a printers connected to the parallel port. Nowadays the parallel port usage is become very less. Even the COM port, serial port, COM port means serial port usage also become very less. Okay, so why? Because of these are all almost all replaced with this USB ports. Only certain devices, maybe older devices, using this serial port, parallel port type of connectivities. Nowadays, most of the boards, even IoT related boards also comes with a USB connectivity. Okay, VGA connector. What is this VGA? To connect a monitor, to connect a projector, kind of stuff. Audio video jacks, USB ports. The black means 2.0, blue color, if it is there, that is a 3.0 or 3.1. And this is LAN ports, to connect a LAN cable. Okay, PS by 2 connector for connecting keyboard and mouse. USB, of course, you can connect anything with your USBs. Okay, what is this? VGA port to connect your monitor, projectors, kind of stuff. Serial port, also called as COM port, also called as RS-232. This is called a LAN port, to connect with a LAN cable to your network. What is this? HDMI port. Nowadays, most of the desktops comes with desktops and laptops comes with a HDMI port only. Guys, VGA port, HDMI port, both are used to connect monitors, projectors, kind of stuff. TVs also we can connect it. But HDMI will give both video and audio. VGA only video. HDMI both video and audio with high quality data transmission. Okay, so you can connect to LED TVs, projectors, of course, monitor with the HDMI port. These are the ports. Okay, up to here. What is motherboard? What are the ports and what is their port usage? Okay. No one is done. Okay, I will finish this SMPS and we'll take a break. What is SMPS? Switch mode power supply. What is the purpose of SMPS? It converts your AC power supply to DC power supply. You have a wall socket, right? In your home, you have a socket is there, no plug point. Yeah, plug points are there. Okay, and wall sockets are there, right? So this is AC power supply. So this is giving AC power supply. 220 volts. And in some places they call 230 volts AC voltage. 50 hertz frequency. In India, we use 50 hertz frequency power supply from it. This is our main power supply. But what computer wanted? Computer wanted, or your laptop or your mobile phone. What is the requirement is DC power supply. AC is a sine wave, positive, negative, sine wave is there. DC is a continuous supply, no change in the frequencies. Okay, depends upon your system, depends upon your components. Some are required 5 volts, some are required 12 volts, like that. What is this SMPS is doing? It converts this AC to DC. Okay, convert AC to DC power supply. Okay, in generally for a desktop, we have this type of SMPSs. It converts your AC to DC with a different DC voltage levels. Plus 12 volts, minus 12 volts, plus 5 volts, minus 5 volts, plus 3.3 volts, and there's a ground common is also there. Initially, we use 80 type of power supply, that is 6 plus 6 pin connector is there. Nowadays, most of our motherboards are ATX motherboards. Okay. Olden days, we have a 20 pin ATX power connector. Now we require a 24 pin AT power connector. Plus a separate CPU power supply is required based on the motherboard. 4 pin or 6 pin or 8 pin CPU power connector is required additionally. And SMP is also giving power supply to your motherboard. It will give power supply. For on motherboard CPU, separate power supply it is giving. Plus to your hard disk, for your CD-ROM, for your floppy disk, for your graphic cards. Also it will give power supply. Okay. Understand, guys?
Yes, sir.
Always choose a proper SMPS. What? Okay. Based on required component is rating required. Okay. So I'm giving an example, guys. CPU consume 55 watts, for example. RAMs consume 20 watts. Graphic card consumes 100 watts. Okay. So like that, so different components having some 10 wattage rating. So you have to calculate the total wattage of your system. So you have to choose your SMPS based on it. For example, a system total wattage requirement is 300 watts, for example, 300 watts. So choose SMPS with 350 watts or 400 watts. Okay, like that, little above. Not required 1 kV, 2 kV kind of stuff. Little above is required. You know what I have done last time, I built my own system. I purchased CPU, RAM, motherboard, that cabinet, SMPS, everything I purchased it. I wanted to put a 650 watts SMPS in it. maybe in future, my nephew or me want to increase my uh, motherboard capacity, or maybe a graphic card capacity, a CPU capacity. I want to increase it. Maybe I want to add some more hard disk to it. No problem, because the current consumption is less than 300 watts. But maybe in future it become 400 watts. So better I created a 650. It is 650 is not required. 450 is more than enough. Okay, it's totally depends upon how total wattage requirement by the system. So based on that, you have to choose little above. Little above is important. Okay, so if not, what happen? If not, what happen? System restarts itself again and again. You may get a doubt. Sir said the system restarts itself again and again in the CPU is overheating. But that is, I said, that is one of the possibility. This is another one of the possibility. Okay. If not means you choose less, choose SMPS less than system for requirements. $300 instead. 400 watts. 250 watts, sir. Happen maybe the system restarts itself again and again. Actually calculated correct. 300 watts exact requirement. Okay. This a system total exact power in watts requirement is 300. So choose SMPS. If you choose less than or exact system power requirements, like 300 watts instead of 350 or 400. So you choose 300 instead of choosing higher than this one. Okay. So then maybe system, for example, yeah, earlier it is working. Now you add one more hard disk. 300 is supported. Good. But now you add one more hard disk, one more pen drive, maybe a graphic card. So what happened? It is exact requirement. But now it is required 310, 305, 301. So enough, not enough power, right? Not enough power means system may restart again and again. Possibility is there. Okay, so what I have written, but understand what I am telling also. So what it is, guys? What is your system requirement? Exact power requirement. Choose little above. Okay. Little above the requirement. Okay. Little above the requirement. Choose always little above requirement. Choose always little above the requirement. Okay. If you do not, if there is a possibility of like a you by adding some hard disk or pen drive or maybe some CD-ROM or maybe a graphic card. So what happen if it is consuming more than your SMPS is providing, it is required more than what SMPS is providing is happen. So system is may restart again and again because it cannot provide entire power supply to everyone. So to avoid it, of course, they use this CPU separate power supply also. Okay, so that is guys understand what is the SMPS kind of stuff. Switch mode power supply, AC to DC power connection. Okay. So take a break, guys. After the break, so we are going to discuss some storage devices. Okay. And then there is one more point that is called what is MBR and GPT. Then I will going to discuss about boot processing. Okay. What is a boot processing? And troubleshooting in the boot processing is also I will try. At least I will tell boot processing. Take a break. If you have any questions, you can also ask me. No problem. So it is come back it. Okay, even 10 is also okay. Take 10-15 minutes of break. 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Okay, 5 minutes plus. So it's okay. Well, 10, I will start again. Okay. Even before that one only people are left.